Mark your card. Proudly sponsored by Typeform.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Mark Your Card on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. It is Ladies' Day. Lossiemouth was very much the leading lady here yesterday with her devastating success in the Champion Hurdle. And the big question this afternoon is whether her stable companion Majbor can join some of the illustrious names on the Roll of Honour for the BetMGM Queen Mother Champion Chase.
No Marine National this year. Is it for Majbor to win the BetMGM Queen Mother Champion Chase? As I welcome Anthony Dunkley to the second day of the Cheltenham Festival. All well?
All well, Niall. Thank you. How did you find yesterday?
Hard.
Yeah,
and looking at today's,
wasn't it?
looking at today's, it doesn't get any easier, but it's really, really competitive, really deep. I mentioned Majbor, the favourites got an awful record in the race.
They do. I mean, you don't have to go too far back to find odds-on favourite after odds-on favourite tumbling down. El Fabiolo, Duvan, that was a key one. What was he beaten 9-2 on? So they're not foregone conclusions, especially not in this race. I have a feeling it's a day to take big swings here at bigger prices.
Okay, we'll hear plenty about that. The first race, 22 runners, max field.
Yeah, feels like a triumph of old, doesn't it? In that kind of way. Again, it is not one I'd be wanting to get stuck into at short prices, to be honest. I still don't feel that we know absolutely everything about how the track is playing exactly, if there are any potential pace biases or scenarios.
But yesterday the pace held up, did it?
It really did, yeah, for right from the get-go on both sides of the track, of the hurdles and chase. So basically, keep us posted. We'll find out from John Pullen, if you will. Yeah,
Brown Advisory. Wide open once again. I quite like the big Westerner. She's drifting out. People say about the ground, but she ran well here in Albert Bartlett on similar ground last year. Yeah, I think course form, as is always the case, is going to play such a factor here. And I think the ability to travel, as she has, yeah, she might maybe lack a turn of foot, but it's that kind of race, isn't it? A turn of foot is not necessarily a prerequisite. I think they're going to go hard in that race. See pace angle after pace angle after pace angle. I think you're really going to need to see it out. Final Demand, can he bounce back? Romeo Coolio, it's great to have him here. Yeah, it is. It is. I think, in particular on that race as well, the fact that they did away with a 2.5 mile novice championship and have changed that to the Jack Richards has paid dividends for the field size here. I mean, last year it didn't really necessarily. What was it, 7 or 8 runners? We've got double that this year. I think they made changes and it's taken a little bit of time, but it's worked. And if you're in trouble, you get the Grand Onion and the bumper to get out of. Yeah, exactly. Very interesting Colin Keynes here. A flat jockey riding in the bumper. Certainly not the first. You go back to Lester Piggott all those years ago. Richard Hughes, Michael Hills. Kieran Fallon, riding Refinement. And Johnny Murta. He rode regularly, rode Stayers Hurdles. And Pat Smullen, the late great. So it can be done. I half wonder about the vibe of a flat jockey going into a jump jockey's room and exactly if there's a clash of cultures. But I'm Jimmy sure Spencer, do you remember? Rhinestone Cowboy? Who could forget? The Stewart's Inquiry. What a Stewart's Inquiry that didn't turn out to be. So not really a get-out stakes. No, it's hard. It's hard. We've got our excuses in nice and early. It's good to soft good in places after 1.5 mils of rain overnight. We're going to hear from John Pullen. He's actually on track at the minute, so we'll get to him live once he has finished. But yeah, looking forward to day 2 and looking forward to welcoming in Rachel Casey as part of our coverage as well. Hi, Rachel.
Hello guys and welcome everyone. Day 2 at the Cheltenham Festival. Anyone else very excited? I certainly am. One of my favourite races of the year, the Queen Mother Champion Chase taking centre stage. But we get underway with the Turners Novices Hurdle, and let's take a look then at the card. We are underway at 1:20. We've got another wonderful day of racing. The Brown Advisory Novices Chase, first of 3 Grade 1s on the day. The 2:40 is the BetMGM Cup handicap hurdle, and fiercely competitive as ever. Lots of gambles already this morning there. The Glenfarclas Cross Country at 3:20, and then at 4 o'clock the BetMGM Queen Mother Champion Chase, the feature race on day 2 and indeed Ladies' Day. The 4:40, we look forward to the Debenhams Johnny Henderson Grand Annual Challenge Cup, and then the Weatherby's Champion Bumper, the 5:20, will be the last race of the day. Came from nowhere in the opener is out due to the Grand, and the Big Westerner out of the second race also due to the going. All right, racingtv.com, have you been on there this week? We have got so much available for you. We've got tips, we've got previews, and of course if you want to look back on all of the highlights from day 1, and of course all of the big stories available for you on racingtv.com. So do check out the website today. And if you're up for winning some prizes, play the Cheltenham Challenge. It's free to play, and you can scan the QR code now. We've got Racing TV memberships for the year. We've got televisions, all sorts going on there. And you can enter for free, so give that a crack as well. So out to Cheltenham we go, and once again it's Gary O'Brien there for us this morning, and time to meet the rest of the team. Morning, guys.
Rachel, very good morning. Yes, and as you can see, I've been joined by Jane Mangan and Martin Dixon as we look ahead to some of the top action we bring you here on day 2 of the festival. Guys, how are you? Jane, how did you enjoy yesterday, first of all?
I enjoyed it as a fan because it wasn't working, and I was able to go out to the track and see the horses gallop past in the champion hurdle and the novices. I was a little bit worried after the first race as an Irish person after we got clobbered, but Willie Mullins soon put that right. Didn't have a great tipping day, but it was great, yeah. Yeah,
onwards and upwards on that front. Martin, you were on duty yesterday. How did you feel the atmosphere was throughout the afternoon?
Really good. Yeah. The crowd was up, wasn't it? I think you could tell. A couple of the winners got big receptions, Lossiemouth in particular, I'd say, but Old Park Star in the first as well in the Supreme. So a couple of favourites that delivered, and the punters came out to see them into the winners' enclosure as well. And I thought there was a really good atmosphere. It was built up the whole week, built up to be a fantastic 4 days, really competitive racing right the way through. We had some good results for punters yesterday as well, didn't we? But you know, the odd slightly bigger price one, Johnny Who winning at 18-1 in the Ultima as well. But no, I thought it was a really good way to kick off the meeting. Some top performances. Lossiemouth was great, wasn't she, in the champion hurdle? She was flawless. I think in some of the other races we saw some of the best horses in the race maybe getting beat because they didn't do everything right on the day, whereas she was absolutely spot on all the way through it. Travelled really well and just delivered what she delivers at Cheltenham essentially. And I think as a champion hurdle performance, I would probably put it a little bit behind Honeysuckle's first one when she beat Sharjah and Epatante, but I would probably have it ahead in ratings terms of what Honeysuckle ran to the year after that, and ahead of Golden Ace last year was obviously Lucky, probably ahead of Stateman, who won a weak renewal of it a couple of years ago. So I think, you know, she's up there in terms of recent winners.
All those people who've been clamouring for her to run in the last couple of years, Jane, I'm sure felt very much vindicated yesterday afternoon. And what about those magical cheek pieces? We've seen them have the desired effect on Majbor. We'll be talking about him again later on. Will the headgear work as well today? But they certainly seemed to spark her up, didn't they?
I'd say Santa must have delivered them to Clisutton, because everything that's worn them first time, it's worked. It's interesting, Willie's playing around more with headgear, whereas he used to never do that. We're seeing Ballyburn with a hood on for the first time. At this stage of his career, you'd imagine they'd have tried it before now. So yeah, it's notable when they do that. But you can't get away from the fact, and it mightn't be a terribly endearing thing to say, but the Clisutton team have always said that Stateman would leave her in his trail. So you just have to think, it was a fantastic performance. I thought Brighter Days Ahead showed she needs soft ground to be at her best. But yeah, I wouldn't go comparing her to the greats just yet.
Okay, she's still got time on her side, of course. Hard to believe she's only seven years of age, Lassie Mouth. She could be coming back here for many more years yet. And of course, the Mullins juggernaut was already on the mark by the time the champion hurdle rolled round. Carghese landed a fascinating edition of the Arkle Chase, guys. It was really in the melting pot coming down the straight, and it was her jumping, Jane, that stood the test more than her two more vaunted rivals.
Yeah, I think the RaceIQ data tells us she gained 8 lengths over her rivals on the day. Danny Mullins gave her a particularly good ride from the front. We saw over the first 2 fences, Kopek de Boord was the novice in the field. You know, he screwed at the first, he launched the second, and he pecked at the back of the last, and he lost a lot of momentum. If they meet again at Punchestown, she'll be doing very well to hold that form, but she won where it mattered. She won on the big day. And you know what? There was a lot of people coming in here saying the Dublin Racing Festival prep, herself and Romeo Coolio, who we'll be talking about later on, they got such a hard race. She's made of grit, and she really dug in.
We've seen that time and time again with her, isn't it? Turning up at all those big festivals, run after run.
Yeah, she's tough.
And Martin, there'll be other days for Kopek de Boord, and Lulamba, I'm sure, will go up in distance further down the line, but it was Carghese's day. Could you have seen that one coming?
You could see it coming in the way that it mapped out. I would stand by. I don't think she's necessarily the most talented of that trio of horses. I think under different circumstances, it's possible that Kopek or Lulamba or both of them potentially would have beaten Carghese on the day, but she did everything right. She's the one that put in the polished performance, jumped well. She's dead honest, isn't she? She's a real trier. I think Lulamba will be better up in trip, but I was impressed by how he coped with the pace of the race early, how he held his position, because that was the worry coming into it. It wasn't so much the jumping in the latter stages people were concerned about. Obviously that proved to be his undoing at the time, as it can do in any race, but it was only one mistake, but it was a notable one. And the same from Kopek. I think Kopek probably blew up a little bit after that mistake as well, didn't he? He'd been off the track, he was carrying a bit of condition in the paddock, but loved how he moved through the race and got to the front going to the last. We saw that side shot of going down to the final fence, and the way that he moved past Carghese was impressive, and he's a bit of an aeroplane, isn't he?
He does look it, doesn't he? There'll be other days for him, as I say. Martin, Jane mentioned the home-trained horses dominating the Supreme Novice Hurdle. A 1, 2, 3, 4 Old Park Star beating the very, very heavily backed Sober Glory. How impressed were you by the winner here? Here's another. I was impressed by
the winner. I think he wants to go up in trip as well. Again, took advantage of things not going quite right for other horses. Sober Glory may have won without that mistake at the final flight. It jumped really well all the way through up to that point. It got a bit chaotic on the run in here as well. My Daddy Paddy was definitely unlucky not to at least be involved in the final 100 yards of the race, because he was the meat in the sandwich, and it did halt his momentum, didn't it, at a crucial point of the race. But three promising young horses, and I like the run of Baron Noir in fourth as well, who looks a chasing type for the future. He's a big, good-looking horse, and he was the only one that got into it from off the pace as well in a race where it was an advantage, as it was most of the day, to be honest, to be on the speed.
And Jane, in the immediate aftermath of that, there were wholesale changes to the market for the Turner's Novice Hurdle, which we're going to be talking about obviously in more depth later on. Should we have any concerns about the Irish novices, or is this a different race, different day, different set of circumstances?
I suppose we won't just react too much of a knee-jerk reaction. I know straight after the race, when Nicky Henderson had the winner, Lulamba went favourite for the Arkle and ended up going off favourite. I suppose you'd have to look at the Ballyfad King Rasco Grey form now, because Talk the Talk never really travelled. He never really turned up. I think the same can be said for El Kairos. They didn't seem to go that fast. Up front in the Supreme, the second horse made the running. The winner sat second. Nothing really came from off the pace, but I would say I wouldn't get too despondent just yet, because I thought those two horses in particular ran too poor to be legitimate. And Mighty Park, we didn't really know what to make of him coming in here. We were taking it on reputation, solely on reputation, and maybe he's a nice horse for chasing for next year, but it wasn't his day yesterday. I just have to tip my hat to Nicky Henderson every year. I know there are young trainers in the UK making their way up the ladder. He's still the king. He's still the king of Cheltenham. From the UK anyway. Willie Mullins is the King of Cheltenham.
And of course today would get even better for the stable later on with Holloway Queen landing the finale. That was a breakthrough win for James Bone. Super day for the birthday boy as well, Jane. JP McManus, a couple of winners on the card, 1-2 in the Ultima. And how impressive was Saratoga in the Fred Winter?
Well, Mark Walsh was always in the right position on him, and he travelled beautifully. He got a great start. It was a difficult start for riders. That was a really important part of the Fred Winter. Winston Jr. didn't get the best start, and he's ran a good race to finish second. But Saratoga was laid out for the race. Well done to Pádraig Roche, who did the same with Brazil, a small enough outfit there in County Kildare. And how did he go off 10-1?
He drifted, didn't he, markedly?
Like he was the talk of all the previews in Ireland.
The reason he went, there's so many other horses fancied, weren't there? Simple as that. But a couple of the other JP horses were very well back. Mustang de Bruyne and Manlaga were stronger in the betting than Saratoga, weren't they? But that is the nature of Cheltenham handicaps. There are a lot of fancied horses, and it takes a big chunk of money to move horses one way or the other.
He won easily, and so too, of course, did Madara later on in the plate. No joy for the Skeletons in the champion hurdle, Martin, but Madara, another example of their target training.
Yeah, it was, and we've got more today. Katira goes, doesn't he, later on in the she goes in the MGM Cup later on, and she'd be another one that looks as if she's been laid out for the spring festivals. But that was a good performance, a clear career best, I would say, from Madara, who only had a couple of starts with the Skeleton Yard after joining them last season, then had a problem, a setback, and missed the rest of the year. And it kind of feels like they're only just getting going with him. He's still only had a handful of starts for the stable. I'd say that would be about a 150 plus performance, wouldn't it? He'd probably get a £10 rise at least for the way that he won the race yesterday. So he's heading sort of in the right direction to potentially have a go at some graded races in the future.
And owner Brian Drew, of course, heavily involved with Final Demand, who's one of the big players today in the Brown Advisory Novice Chase. So it's a great action that can be reflected upon yesterday on day one of the festival, but we're going to set up day two very shortly indeed, when we'll begin with the BetMGM Queen Mother Champion Chase.
And what about the last 10 winners of the BetMGM Queen Mother Champion Chase? Well, Marie Nationale won it last year, sadly misses out on the festival this time round. Captain Guinness was a big prize winner in 2024. And then, of course, we had the years of Energumene for Willie Mullins and Paul Townend. Put the Kettle On, another surprise winner. Henry de Bromhead and Aidan Coleman. Great horses like Politologue, Altior twice, Special Tiara, and Sprinter Sacra back in 2016 for Nicky Henderson and Nico de Bonneville. What about 2026 though? Let's take a look at the runners and riders. Number 1 is Brookie. Number 2 is Captain Guinness for Henry de Bromhead. Former winner, he's been placed in the contest twice, running at his 6th Cheltenham Festival. Number 3 is Found a 50, runner-up in the Arkle a couple of years ago for Gordon Elliott. And number 4, representing Willie Mullins and Paul Townend, Il Était Temps, could be a big player in this year. Number 5 is Irish Panther, pitched in to open company for Eddie Harty. Big price horse in the race. Number 6 is Lotus Sioux for the Skelton team. And number 7, Big Hopes for Liberty Hunter at a very big price for the Williams team. Number 8 is Majbor for the JP McManus team, and of course the red hot favourite. And number 9 is Calixios, running at his 4th Cheltenham Festival for trainer Henry de Bromhead. And finally, number 10 is Saint Segal, who will be another big price runner in the field. So there's the runners and the riders, and let's take a look at the market. And the field headed up this time round by Majbor, who is 10 to 11 odds on for the BetMGM Queen Mother Champion Chase. Il Était Temps 11 to 4 for Paul Townend. Harry Skelton on Lotus Sioux at 5 to 1. Irish Panther at 14s. Calixios 14 to 1. Found a 50 at 28 to 1. And then it's Captain Guinness at 35 to 1. Saint Segal at 40 to 1. And Liberty Hunter 66 to 1 with Brookie at 100 to 1. So Majbor, red hot favourite. They're saying if he jumps, he will win. But as we've seen down through the years, it's never so straightforward.
Shorties have a shocking record in the champion chase.
Duvan just being shaken up now, didn't get away from that fence, and he's in trouble.
The Duvan bubble bursts. As they stretch over the stick line, Shishkin's slow there, and I think Nico de Bruyne Driver's going to pull him up. She's in out of the Queen Mother, and now Chateau Bonsoir is out as well.
El Fabiola, a jolting blunder. He is out of the race, El Fabiola. And then John Bond searching the field. Asked up there, but he put down on it, hit it hard.
Oscar made a shocking mistake at the second lap. Has that torn it?
Majbor fulfills his potential, is ramping to victory in the Ladbrokes Dublin Chase.
Majbor, the transformative power of Cheek Peters.
As fast as they wanted to go, they were never going fast enough for him.
And it all looked wonderful, didn't it, at the Dublin Racing Festival for Majbor. It was a monster performance, and no big surprise, he is very well fancied this afternoon. Supremely talented. We've seen him win a triumph. He's still a very young horse, as you can see there. He's only 6 years old, and last year in the Arkle, well, the jumping certainly let him down. But he's back. Can he do it here at Cheltenham this time round? Let's hear from his trainer, Willie Mullins, with Gary O'Brien.
Majbor, have to speak about him. Everybody was raving about what he did at Leopardstown. Have you seen a better performance from a National Hunt horse this season than that?
No, that was a hell of a performance, and you know, if he comes up in that sort of form, that'll be one to beat, I think. Yeah.
Cheek Pieces worked really well. Is it just a case of whether they continue to have the same effect, you feel?
I think they should. It'd be different if it was his 4th or 5th run with Cheek Pieces, but. I think they'll have the desired effect.
It really was some performance from Majbor at Leopardstown last time. Jane, I'm not sure there's a more talented horse, to be honest, in training than him. If there is, it could well be obviously housed in Close Sutton somewhere else there. But visually, that was just a blockbusting run last time. How confident can you be that he is going to repeat it and exercise the demons of 12 months ago?
I'm confident in the horse, but history needs to be, we need to pay attention to history. So 7 of the last 10 odds-on favourites have been beaten in the champion chase. Speed does enforce mistakes, and he is capable of making some hurlers of mistakes. He finally got his act together when Mark Walsh basically said, I've tried my best to nurse you around, now I'm going to throw it at you. And he went long and longer at some fences, but he had the scope to come up. And sometimes I've questioned his power off the back end, whether he's able to, you know, I've questioned maybe that he's a front wheel drive horse and that his hind end doesn't get off the ground. That was put to bed at Leopardstown. He did it really well. He hit a top speed of 33 miles an hour on heavy ground coming down to the last, and he absolutely floored a previous champion chase winner. Last year, he nearly won what looks like now quite a good renewal of the Arkle, having taken the 4th last, 2nd last and last fence with him. I think he can take them all with him today. If the remount rule wasn't there, I'd say Mark could get off him and get back on him. He's that good. As you say, he's supremely talented, and I know I make some jokes about his jumping, but I think the way he's being ridden now, Martin, I think that's going to change the horse. I think Mark is just going to say, go and get him.
Yeah, and I think we shouldn't forget as well that last year, coming into the Arkle, he'd only had a couple of runs over fences going into it, and he was a 5-year-old, so he's still a youngster, isn't he? He's still only 6, running in a champion chase this year, and I think he's had 10 or 11 career starts. He's still a relatively inexperienced horse, so he's entitled to be getting better. They're entitled to be learning about him as a horse and what suits him best, and I think we saw it all come together at Leopardstown. And look, everybody knows any horse can make a mistake. Kopek de Board did it yesterday, that got him beat. Lulamba arguably did the same, and Sober Glory we touched on. There were others on the day yesterday that didn't jump well enough to win at the end of the day. That could happen with Majbor, but I genuinely think he's head and shoulders above everything else. And he's never run a poor race in his life. Yes, he's been beaten at short prices a couple of times, but I think the furthest he's been beaten in his career is 3.5 lengths. So even when he's done a lot wrong, he's still finished not too far away from them, like when he jumped out to his left at Cork, and when he left his hind legs in the second last year at the meeting. Still finished ahead of Lourdes Sud, by the way, didn't he, in the Arkle, even though he made the mistakes that he made. So I'm hoping that he puts in one of the performances of the week, because I think he's capable of it, putting in one of those wow moments that people remember as they leave the festival, and it's one of those real talking points of the meeting. I think he's going to produce that today. And if you're with me, you could well be a backer at 10 to 11, to be honest, even though it's a short price.
I was actually going to ask you, how confident would you be about the headgear working as well this time? Sounds like you don't necessarily think it has to.
I think it has to be borne in mind that any horse can make a mistake on in a championship situation like this. The intensity is there, the pace of the race is there, but I like the fact that we saw him ridden in that really direct forward manner at Leopardstown, and you kind of know what you're going to get. You obviously take your chance, and people will have differing views whether they're willing to take that chance at the price that he is. Personally, I think he should be shorter, because I just think he will definitely win if he puts in the round of jumping that he put in at Leopardstown, because I just think he's far too good for it.
If it was a different venue, if it wasn't Cheltenham Festival, he would be a lot shorter.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I hope that he puts in one of those blockbuster performances anyway. That's what people are here to see. That's what the week's about. We've seen too many champion chases that have ultimately been a bit of a damp squib in terms of performance in recent years, and hopefully Majbor changes that today.
Fingers crossed. One of those looking to take him down, of course, is Loda Sud, who was the winner of the Slur Chase here earlier on in the season. Very impressive on that occasion before suffering defeat in the Tingle Creek at Sandown. Just broadening it out, Jane, looking outside Majbor, who I think we all feel on his A game is much the best horse in the race. Is Loda Sud potentially next best, would you say?
No, I'd say Little Tomp is probably next best, but this was a good performance. I was here in November, it was a bad day, it was bad ground, beat Matata, JJ Slevin just trying to stay on Matata there. That form isn't good enough, but he wins on the bridle. He subsequently has disappointed, but maybe that was with this race in mind. They've kept him fresh, hasn't been seen since December, since the Tingle Creek, where Little Tomp floored him. He's a good horse. He's a good horse, but I think the betting's right. I think Elite Tomp is the second best horse in the race. And
Elite Tomp has been well supported, 11 to 4, as you can see there in those latest prices that we're showing you. We'll have a look back at his win in the Tingle Creek, Martin. Of course, he won at Sandown at the back end of the previous campaign as well. Sandown, as we know, is a really good jumping test, and he's gone round there really impressively on both occasions when he's won. The rub now is that he's coming into it on the back of a fall at Ascot last time. That was a really lethargic effort. Where do you stand with it?
Yeah, I think that's the worry is the last performance, I think, for me, that maybe just the edge was taken off of him with a couple of big performances in the early part of the season. On the positive side, we've not seen him for nearly 2 months, so they've given him time to freshen up. The betting is suggesting that he's in a good place and they're back happy with him again. This is a good performance. I think this is the second best 2-mile performance that we've seen of the season so far, personally. Beating John Bon at Sandown, where he's got a good record. John Bon's obviously gone on to prove himself about as good as ever, you know, this season subsequently. Loda Sud probably didn't fire, but equally it might highlight some limitations when he's in against the top horses. You know, it depends how much you believe the freshness side of things with Loda Sud, because one thing you can be pretty certain of is that form that we saw Loda Sud winning the Schloor earlier on in the season is not really worth very much. You know, he should have beaten Matata into second. John Bon clearly didn't fire that day, so that isn't really worth much. So maybe you could argue that actually Loda Sud wasn't a million miles below form at Sandown, and you know, he's just not quite grade 1 standard.
I think we're all fascinated to see how the novice gets on as well. Irish Panther, Eddie and Patrick Harty have gone for the big one with him rather than running the Arkle yesterday. I'm not sure they'll necessarily regret not running in the Arkle either, having seen how it panned out. Jane and Martin, I know you think he'll run really well.
I think he'll run well, yeah. I mean, he's rated officially 153. There are limitations on where handicappers will put the novice performances on a rating, but if you look at that 8-length beating of Jacob's Ladder, you could have him a bit higher than 153. He's obviously inexperienced, but jumping and speed are his assets, and jumping and speed are what you're going to need to be competitive in a champion chase. So I think he'll run well. I can't say he's overpriced, because to be honest, winning it would be a stretch, wouldn't it? But I think if you're looking at your 3 and 4 places markets, things like that, extra places or place only betting, I could see him running a really big race under conditions that'll suit him very well.
It's a bold move, isn't it, throwing him in there, and hopefully Connections will be rewarded for their faith in Irish Panther. So there we have it, a look ahead to the big one this afternoon, the BetMGM Champion Chase. I think it's a unanimous vote for the favourite Majbor.
Thank you, Gary. Well, I've got Josh Kerr with me, a unanimous vote on course, and you're going to be here all week, actually, with our RaceIQ data and all of that.
Yeah, trying to see what the figures can give us in terms of clues to what might happen. And they gave us some great clues yesterday in terms of Cargesi and the Arkle going into it the best jumper, the most efficient jumper on the RaceIQ Jump Index.
Was that the best performance from yesterday on the stats?
Yes, certainly in terms of jumping and that efficiency, and obviously the two rivals making those mistakes and giving lengths away.
OK, and yesterday was great, wasn't it?
A brilliant day, yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous. I mean, Lossiemouth, I think I love her. Like, yeah, I'm in love.
I mean, and she just so tough, but so speedy as well. I mean, the race really played into her strengths yesterday and was able to show off all of her abilities.
I just love her whole demeanour, even down at the start when they're all messing about. Nichol's horse was sulking and she's just standing there like, are we going? I'm ready. So good yesterday. And of course, all about the champion chase. And I guess when we're digging deep into stats and, you know, jumping performances, you're going to dissect Majbor. We're going to see the good, the bad, the ugly, maybe not so ugly, because this is a young horse learning in the races. And I think if we wind back, you'll be looking at maybe why punters might be taking him on today.
Yeah, absolutely. The champion chase, the ultimate test of jumping at speed. You know, these equine athletes weighing, you know, half a tonne are galloping towards each fence on average at more than 30 miles per hour for a distance just under 2 miles. In fact, they went to the second flight in last year's champion chase at almost 35 miles per hour. That would feel pretty uncomfortable going over a speed bump in your road car, but, you know, these superstars make it like poetry in motion.
Fun for a rider if you're on a good jumper, but maybe not the case over 2 miles, you know, going that fast. It's a lickety-split, isn't it? And that's what makes the race so fantastic.
Yes, it's also what makes it fall apart when those horses don't make it look so easy. And that's kind of what Majbor has exemplified at times. If we take a look at what you could describe as some of his greatest hits, those big mistakes that have cost him races, we'll go back to the Arkle last year, starting with 4 out, loses more than 6 miles per hour here. That's more than the length he's given away on the field. And then the one that everyone all remembers, 2 out, gives away more than 8 miles per hour and giving away around half a length. So that's 2.5 lengths there, and he goes down by 3/4 of a length. Then the Healy Way this year, another bad mistake. This one, 2 out, losing more than a length to a Race Fit found a 50. The emerging trend of these areas as well, them coming late in races. Spin on then to last time out. The cheek pieces were applied after people were asking the question, well, what do we do with Majbor now? And this was a much more assured jumping performance from Majbor. In fact, his 2 best jumping performances in terms of jump index have come at the Dublin Racing Festival. That's 3 out there, and there we are, the last jump gains so much time there, more than 4.5 lengths on the field at that jump alone, gaining more than 16 lengths on the field throughout the race. So that was Majbor very much at his absolute best. The thing is, when he isn't making these errors, he's so efficient at getting from A to B. It doesn't always look pretty, but he's not very efficient. And when he's making those errors, what he's having to do, he's very quick at getting back up to speed, but that's costing you energy, and in a race run like the champion chase, that's going to be costing you up the running. So I suppose it's the question of trying to work out, you know, as a punter, you know, if you think the cheek pieces have focused him up and he's going to jump brilliantly, then clearly he's the play.
Yeah, I know, I can see all of that. It's fascinating actually watching him in his races when he does jump poorly. He seems to just get away with it. I know you're looking at like Len Sloss, but ultimately, I mean, if other horses were making the mistakes he's been making, I mean, they'd be down. They'd be like, you know, losing all that momentum. But he seems to not lose as much momentum as maybe, example, other horses.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, even when he makes these whopping errors, he's still in there fighting, but ultimately they are costing him races. So if you think those errors are too much of a risk, you're probably then looking to take him on either outright, or you might just think it's too difficult to know which Majbor is going to...
All right, our viewers have watched all of that, and now they're thinking, OK, I'm not too sure about Majbor. I might take him on today. Who should they take him on with?
Well, where the value could be either outright or in the without the favourite market could be Irish Panther. A big enough price, but the run at Christmas in December was very creditable, both on the time. It was more than 6 seconds quicker than the equivalent race which Majbor ran in the day after. Yes, okay, the ground had been raced on more, but again, look at the jumping, the average speed loss. He's experienced as well in a race. Despite being a novice, he's experienced arriving at fences at that high speed which you need for a champion chase, and jumping efficiency, that 9.2. The numbers from that run at Christmas stack up very well indeed, and that's what the Hearties have seen, and that's why they've ultimately chosen this race.
Yeah,
I think.
Fair play to them, having a crack. So good luck to the team there. What have you got for us later?
We're going to be looking at the turners and how the turners might be run.
All right, lovely. We'll look forward to that. For now, thank you, Josh, and we'll see you after the break.
Mark your card. Proudly sponsored by Titanfall.
Keep up to date with all the latest news via the Racing TV social media channels. Our X, Facebook and YouTube channels will keep you up to speed with race replays, interviews and plenty more bonus content. Engage with other users to discuss the key talking points in the sport, enter competitions, get expert tipping insight and catch up on breaking news from the Racing TV website. Let our Instagram and TikTok channels bring you closer to the action with a range of immersive, engaging and educational content. Racing TV's social media channels already have over 1 million followers as we aim to give you access to the action at your fingertips. Wherever you are in the world, you can stay ahead of the pack by following us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube and Threads. Join us now by following Racing TV on social media today.
Mark your card. Proudly sponsored by Titanfall.
And just round the back of the way, and we're in the media centre, up high in the media centre, hive activity behind, lots of photographers over here. Harry Allwood over here. Yesterday you were giving us Old Park Star your nap of the day, nice and early in Kaching.
Happy days now. Yeah, it wasn't just me that was celebrating yesterday. We had a real good few winners on the website yesterday. Highlight being Saratoga for Johnny Ward at 10-1. Alex Scott was in flying form with Cargese, the Arca winner at 7-1, and Lossiemouth as well. A couple of winners for the inform, Andy Stevens, and we had Johnny Ward to say tipping yesterday, and he's on today with Lydia Hislop, who tipped Madara yesterday, along with a couple of other tipsters as well. So all their tips on the website again today. Dave Deverson's tipped a few today. He's actually tipped 100-1 contender today, a former Willie Mullins trade runner. So make sure you check that one out today. Obviously tips from Andy Stevens, Alex Scott again, myself as well. So head over to the website and check all those out again.
As I said yesterday, the replays, I find when you leave the track, and sometimes you see less of it when you're on course, but checking out the online, the winning interviews, etc., and news that maybe you missed.
And I think sometimes people just assume that this just gets thrown together and it's all just a foregone conclusion, but this is weeks and months of planning, this festival, isn't it?
Exactly, Duncan. Yeah, we've got obviously all the stable tours I mentioned yesterday on the website, all the stats guys, trends, everything you could possibly need for this week basically, and lots of exclusive interviews. All the highlights are on YouTube yesterday, so if you want to watch the full race replays, the interviews, etc., head over to the website and also YouTube to watch those as well. And there's honestly absolutely tons of content. I'm not just saying it, go and check out for yourselves, guys. Honestly, there's absolutely loads of content to enjoy on the website.
What about specifically today? What can you provide with us?
So today we obviously got all the tips I mentioned. I quite like Iberico Lord saying the BetMGM Cup. He's my each way nap of the meeting actually this week, so hopefully he does the business today. We've obviously got all the exclusive interviews on there. Go and check out all the features that are done with the RaceIQ stats. Absolutely everything, all angles covered hopefully. And obviously it's not just me working this week. There's plenty of behind the scenes team working hard and bringing you all the content from the track.
Absolutely. absolutely. Shall I go off and meet a few of them?
Go on.
Yeah, so, Harry, thank you. Let's go and meet a few of the other people who work tirelessly behind the scenes to provide you with, firstly, daily tips, but also content as well. We've got Katie Midwinter here. In fact, I'll just come around here. Katie, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Very well. Just one tip from you for today, please.
I quite like Pied Piper in the cross country. Hope he runs well.
Okay. My least favourite race, but I've got a winner at least. Will Haler, we've been seen on these cameras plenty of times. What are you backing?
Well, unusually, I've backed Wendigo for the Brown Advisory, and it's not come out. I've actually backed something at a bigger price than it's going to go off today, which is incredibly unusual for my anti-post betting. So I should be cheering him on it, hoping that my 33-1 comes in.
What time does your day start on a day like this, and what time does it end?
Well, I'm streaming. I'm streaming to YouTube right now. I'm streaming yourself right now. I'm bringing Mark Your Card to the people of YouTube. So early start today, just like you. But you know, they are long days, but they're brilliant days, and it was an absolute pleasure to be here yesterday. And you know, we've got a bit of sunshine today as well. So fingers crossed for another great day.
There I am on screen there. I must remember to comb my hair. Well, thank you very much. Neil Phillips, we will be seeing you very shortly for the day job, if you will. But what about the tipping part of the job?
Well, I'm going to go right in the 440 today, in the pocket for Henry de Bromhead. I've always liked this horse. I thought the last time out was good. Always thought really talented. I think it's got a really good chance.
Something of a redemption story. And the man to the left, well, we'll be hearing plenty from you this afternoon, Nick. But you'll be getting the tips then. What about a tip for us now?
Nobody wants to see me at this point in the day, Anthony. They see enough of me on TV all the time. I like King Rasco Grey in the first and Oscar's brother in the brown. So, yeah, I think the ground's going to be plenty quick enough today. What did they get, 1.5 mile overnight?
Less than expected.
Yeah, a little less than expected. It's also going to be extremely cold. That's not, I don't think that's enough layers. You're going to need some more on. I'm going to the shopping village in a minute to buy the warmest coat I can find.
I was going to
get the words out yesterday. I got to about 5:45, and they just, whatever was in here just wasn't coming out here.
Well, drier day today, dry yesterday as well.
I must try harder.
Always trying, Nick Luck. Has a nice ring to it. So there are some of the team, some of the countless people that put together content for yourselves, both on the camera, behind, and on the website.
Thank you, Anthony. Great little tour there, the press room, racingtv.com. Do check out the website for all of that content. For us, though, it is now time to look ahead to the Brown Advisory. 3 miles and a furlong, Grade 1, and the Brown Advisory Novices Chase to look forward to comes up at 2 o'clock. And the last 10 winners, well, looking to last year, it was Lecky Watson for Willie Mullins and Sean O'Keefe, and Fact to File won it 2 years ago. That was just a dream performance with Mark Walsh on board. The real whackers taking it for the Brits, Sam Twiston-Davis, Patrick Neville, Venetia Williams and Charlie George Lompresse, and Willie Mullins, well, he's won it 4 times in the last 6 years. So, yeah, could he be doing it again? He has got, of course, Final Demand and a couple of others in the mix, and the favourite is just about Romeo Coolio at 11-4, Final Demand 9-2, Kate Dohey at 6-1, Wendigo at 7s, Cocktail Divan at 15-2, Western Fold at 10-1, and Kitzbühel 14s along with Oscar's brother at 14-1 and 22-1, and bigger the rest. So we've just seen a very good record for Willie Mullins in the race. He's got Final Demand. A bit of a surprise defeat at short odds last time, but previous wins very impressive and should be a very big player in this race today. Let's find out more with his trainer, Willie Mullins, alongside Gary O'Brien.
Final Demand had what to many people was a shock defeat at Leopardstown last time. How's he been since then, do you think? Maybe something was affecting him on the day?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't, you know, at Christmas time, we were all underwhelmed and disappointed at Christmas. He won, he got the job done, and Patrick said to me he didn't give him a big squeeze because he didn't want to just knock him down over the last 2 fences. He thought he had a look around, he said, I'm going to get this job done. However, the horse just hasn't fired, I think, yet this year. And, you know, we still have a month left. So, maybe it's just ground, you know. It was very tough ground in Limerick, very tough ground in Leopardstown, and yes, he looks like a horse that should relish those conditions, but maybe he's not. So we'll see. All seems fine at home. He's eating up and doing everything right, but I'd like to see him a bit perkier.
Kay Duthie obviously came to the fore that day at the DRF. Do you think he's going to be a big player there, and will maybe Kitzbühel, one or two others go too?
Yeah, Kay Duthie was fantastic in Leopardstown. If he turns up in the same condition, he's going to be a big player. And you know, so I'm hoping we can just get him there like that. Kitzbühel, you know, he went a half-mile shorter and didn't make the running. I'm not so sure that was the right tactic on the day. You know, we'll have to have a look at tactics for him. Get him out there, let him enjoy himself, let him jump. And I would change that for the next day. Of course, the next day is, what, 3 miles and 1. But certainly I would let him enjoy himself.
So the champion trainer there with his thoughts on his runners in this year's Brown Advisory Novice Chase. Of course, it's a race like most Grade 1s here at the Cheltenham Festival that he's enjoyed tremendous success in over the years, and that could well continue today. Now, we welcome viewers on Freeview for the next hour. Martin Dixon and Jane Mangan alongside me here on Mark Your Card on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival, and you join us as we look ahead to the Brand Advisory Novice Chase. We've got a tremendous race in prospect here for the staying novices, and Jane, the favourite is Romeo Coolio for Gordon Elliott, who drew a blank here yesterday. Obviously had some horses run well in defeat. Brighter Days Ahead, I thought, ran a race in the champion hurdle at least. It was a big call for connections, what race to go for with Romeo Coolio. They've ended up going for the longer race. Do you think that's the right decision, knowing what we know now about what happened yesterday?
It's easier to say it now, having watched the Arkle and knowing that the ground is riding on the quick side of good to soft. I think they are vindicated in that decision. This is him out battling Cargesi. We know what she did yesterday, but take it literally if you want. He's now up to 3 miles. I wouldn't take it too literally myself. He's a 3-time Grade 1 winning novice. That's never been done, coming and converting into 4 Grade 1s at the Cheltenham Festival, but I don't think too many novices will have come in here with those credentials. He's had a busy campaign already in the autumn and the winter. He does stay, but because he's been trained for his last 2 runs to win Grade 1s at 2 Mile 1, you wouldn't be surprised if he's keen. And with that in mind, I'm not surprised that they're reaching for a Hood first time. It's a big field, and he's going to have to relax to get the trip. He's a class horse of the race, and he's the right favourite, but he has been busy, and I think he's short.
And Martin, the horse who, of course, he's ousted from favouritism is Final Demand. We heard from Willie Mullins with his thoughts about Final Demand, and Kay Duthie there, who turned him over at Leopardstown last time. We're going to go back and show you Final Demand's win at Limerick in the Grade 1 over the Christmas period. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Looking back on this now, were there maybe worrying signs in this performance? I thought he was well on top of the finish, but the runner-up, Gold Dancer, for all he's a grand horse, he'd be a massive price to win a race like this.
Oh, I think you can pick holes in this form itself, and on the day it was easy to sort of be throwing superlatives out there, I suppose, simply because of expectations being very high going into it, and then him going on and being an easy winner. I wouldn't really knock this too much because he did what he had to do. Got in a bit tight to a couple of fences, but I think his jumping was generally decent. I've always thought he was a staying chaser. He's running over 3 miles for the first time over fences, or for 3 miles for the first time. I think it will suit him, but there's no doubt that the last performance sort of makes you question whether he's going to be in the form to deliver his best, doesn't it? If he bounces back, I think he's got a big chance, because he is a good horse. There's no doubt about that. He proved that at Punchestown last year. I thought he was very good on his chase debut. But yeah, there are risks attached to backing him, and it's difficult to back him with absolute confidence, but it wouldn't surprise me if he won.
Let's have a look then at his eclipse at the Dublin Racing Festival at Leopardstown, where he was taken down by his stable companion Kay Duthie. And Jane, of course, they were split this day by Western Fold, the Galway Plate hero, who's in the field again this time around. How do you see this renewal of rivalry this afternoon?
Well, Final Demand's going to have to jump better. I think when Kay Duthie pressurised his jumping, he let Paul Townend down, and that is a big question mark for today. It sounds like from the chat that Willie Mullins had with you that they're going to ride Final Demand more positive. He's currently 9-2. The winner, Kay Duthie, is 6-1. He gets the trip very well, but I think he's won pace, and I think he'll be reliant on a very strong pace up front. He may well end up pushing the pace himself. Western Fold is there splitting them. He's a horse that'll enjoy better ground. He's got a lot of experience, obviously being Galway Plate winner in a big handicap, so he'll have no issue with this. And I know a lot of the Gordon Elliott team think he's a value against the field. Danny Gilligan rides him, of course, Jack riding Romeo Coolio, but I'd be very surprised if that form is good enough, to be honest. And I'm kind of surprised the Final Demand is as short as he is. I think it'll take a fair training performance from Willie Mullins. He is obviously a god. We know the man's a genius, but it was a pretty deflating display last time.
The only thing I'd say on the positive side, if you're willing to take the chance, there are bits of evidence that it can be done, like factor file from the King George to the DRF. It was 5 weeks between
Gaelic Warriors, the one people keep mentioning.
Obviously Gaelic Warrior, but even in more recent times, from the King George to the DRF, it was a similar time frame, wasn't it, to get a horse back, and he managed to do it with factor file. So if you're willing, you are getting a much bigger price now than people would have been expecting to be getting sort of 2 months ago about Final Demand for this race. I suppose there are more runners in it because he's maybe not looked, because of his defeat, more people are willing to throw their hat into the ring to some extent, so you've got more runners than maybe we anticipated. But yeah, I still think he's a big player in it, but it does take a leap of faith without doubt to have the bet. But you know, I think if he delivers his best, he might be quite hard to beat, actually.
My one question with him is his form actually any good?
I have been asking myself that question. Yeah. When you look back through it, a lot of the races he's won, his big rivals on the day have just underperformed, not shown up.
And he's dominated, and he's not come off the bridle. And when he came off the bridle last year with the yellow clay and the new lion, interpret that as you wish, he didn't find a lot up the hill. And we were all thinking, oh, it's because he's a chaser and he's big and he's only filling into himself. Well, when he was put to the pin of his collar at Leopardstown, he let us down. So 9-2 is short about a horse that I'm not extremely confident in up the hill.
Kitzbühel is another very useful string to Willie Mullins' bow here. Of course, last time out in the Scilly Isles Novice Chase at Sandown, he blundered Paul Townend out of the saddle at an early stage. But here's his win in the Quarter Star Novice Chase, where he beats Thomas Moore, Wendigo and Salver, who are all in opposition again today. Harry Cobden was actually meant to ride him at Sandown before Paul Townend rerouted. Jane, he gets the spin today. How big a player could this fella be? And what about some of those in behind? Wendigo is a big fancy for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the winner is a major player. I'll leave Martin talking with the British horses because I know he's a strong fancy in one of them as well. Obviously on the day at Kempton, Paul dictated fractions up front, and this horse jumped exemplarily well, unfortunately taking a very heavy fall, or unseating Paul there last time. But we know he's capable of better than this. I think the fences around Cheltenham will suit him. He does jump to his right, so I expect Harry Cobden to be down the rail, or at least with a couple of horses outside him. I think he's a big player, but I know you have an each-way fancy behind him.
Well, I just think Thomas Moore's been completely overlooked in the market. It wouldn't be a strong fancy as such, but he's 66-1. And I think when you watch that race back, there's no real reason why Wendigo should be so much shorter and so much better fancied than Thomas Moore, really. I thought Wendigo had every chance to sort of get past him. He didn't jump well enough. He got behind, whereas Thomas Moore was able to travel and hold his position and jumped better ultimately than Wendigo in that race. And Wendigo had every chance to get past him on the run-in. He wasn't able to. He's obviously had a few training issues over the years, I'd say, which is why we haven't seen him a huge amount of times over the last 2 or 3 years. But they've kept him fresh for this. He won well first time out in the season at Ascot, so he does go well fresh. Stable had Sober Glory run a blinder yesterday. And he's also, like Wendigo, actually finished 5th in an Albert Bartlett, because back in 2023 he came here in the race won by Stay Away Fair with Affordale Fury back in 2nd, and he finished a very creditable 5th in an Albert Bartlett. So he's got reasonable festival form. He's made a bright start to his chase career, and I think at 66-1 you could do worse than throw a few quid each way at him anyway, because I think he could run quite well. With the big Westerner sadly now out, Cocktail de Ban is the big hope here for Henry de Bromhead. Darrow O'Keefe will ride, and Jane, he produced a spectacular display of jumping when he won at Leopardstown on his latest start at the Christmas Festival. He had finished behind Romeo's Coolio and Oscar's brother earlier on in the season. Connections had the option of running him in the novice handicap tomorrow. A lot of people felt he had a few pound up his sleeve if he went that way. Have they made the right call? They've obviously made the bold call to come here.
They've made the bold call. I think they may well have had a suspicion that the ground would be too quick for the mare, and they wanted to run him in this. He's 15-2 at the moment. The question mark is, what you're watching is a 2 mile 5.5 on slow ground at Leopardstown. Does he get the 3 mile trip here on better ground? I think there's every chance that he will, given the ground conditions now. I know the connections feel that there is more to come from him. Oscar's brother, who beat him in the Florida Pearl, he won't be suited by today's ground. He's going to want a more, I think, a deeper surface to be seen to his best. So when Dara O'Keefe was jacked up on this horse, I was thinking, the mare is more likely to be a non-runner now than a runner. She's out. And Henry had a horse run okay yesterday down Mexico way, ran okay. I think Zurich probably ran to his full potential as well. So that's important with yard form. He has an each-way play. Yeah, he has an each-way chance.
What about stamina, Martin? That's a worry a lot of people have.
It is a concern. I mean, he was outsteered by Oscar's brother on testing ground earlier on in the season. I'd have preferred him to run in the handicap chase, to be honest, over the shorter trips. I would be a little bit worried about 3 Mile 1 on a track with a stiff finish, but I do think he's a very good horse. I think he'll go really well for a long way. I think he'll be bang there at the second last. I'm just not quite confident enough. Is he 7 or 8 to 1, that sort of price? At that price, I wouldn't be confident enough in his stamina, but I think he will run very well. Just gut feeling would be that the latter stages might be a bit too much for him.
Let's get the final thoughts then. To me, Romeo Coolio is the best horse in the race, but I think there are enough doubts to maybe watch him rather than back him today, Martin.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts would be the race is wide open. I think there's enough reasons generally to take on the very front end of the market and maybe play the race small stakes each way at big prices. So Thomas More I've already mentioned, and I think Predator's Gold has got a big performance in him as well. He's not dissimilar to Thomas More in that we haven't seen that much of him over the last couple of seasons, but he's always been a very good horse. He was second in the Nathaniel Lacey to Dancing City a couple of years ago as a novice hurdler. Made a very bright start to his chase career at Navan earlier on in the season when he beat Slade Steel, and he beat Wingmen by a similar margin in distance to what Final Demand had beaten Wingmen as well on his chase debut. And then I'd say bounced the next time that we saw him at Punchestown in January. That was a bit disappointing, but he'd been off the track over 500 days before that chase debut win, and I think the next run probably came too soon. They've obviously given him 2 months off now, so he comes here fresh. I think Predator's Gold at 33 to 1 and Thomas More at 66s, they'd do me in a type of race where I'd rather have small bets at big prices.
Fair shout. Jane, what do you make of this one?
Well, it's a fair reflection of the whole handicap system now, isn't it? This and the Turners with 22 runners, there's 15 runners in this. The last 5 renewals of this have had 6, 9, 10, 6 and 7 runners, so it's a fabulous affair. I think Kitzbühel is probably a 14 to 1 in each way play for me in the race. Look, I personally would love to see Final Demand bounce back into something like what we thought he might be, but I won't believe it till I see it. And Romeo Coolio is just short for a horse that's been as busy as he has been.
Good shout for Kitzbühel then for Jane. The Mounts of Harry Cobden, of course, he'll be on No Drama this end in the Turners Novice Hurdle today. We'll be talking about that race shortly, but for now we're going to rejoin Niall and Anthony.
The sun's out. Looks like it's going to be a belter of a day. Like yesterday, a bit more rain maybe after the race, so we'll catch up with John Pullen in due course. But in the meantime, let's talk to James Mackey from Betfair. Big Western's just been a non-runner, but still lots and lots of runners. Surely it's a good day for the bookies.
Well, look, it was one of those days yesterday where it was up and down, up and down. Obviously, Cope at the board's getting beat with a fair bit of money coming for him, and then obviously Lossy Mouth winning on later in the day in the Champion Hurdle. So it was probably about even yesterday. He looks tough today, doesn't he? It does look probably one of the toughest punting days of the week, and then obviously you move on to Thursday where you've got a few shorties that hopefully we're trying to get beat. But look, it was a brilliant day yesterday. Probably one of the stories of the week with Lossy Mouth actually winning a Champion Hurdle in the end. So we'll see what happens today, but some great racing again.
The man on our right's got some big thoughts, big prices.
I'm going to take some big swings, including, I think, in our opener, like Shuttle Diplomacy. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Shuttle Diplomacy, 25 to 1. Obviously, he's got that form with King Rasco Grey, wasn't it, from Limerick. The mover in the market at the moment, it's actually a fair mover. He's I'll sort that for Declan Quealy. 25 to 1 to 12 to 1 now. So with the 4 places on offer, we have the extra place in that race. His punters are up thinking, right, we're going to try and back something each way. And I'll sort that's the one at the moment. That's in the Turners, and that's, the Brown Advisory at 2 o'clock. We actually have a cracking Super Boost for this. Look, yesterday over 30,000 of our customers backed the Old Port Star Super Boost, finishing the top 4, 1 to 3 into even money. Obviously, he went and won the race, which is obviously brilliant for punters. Today we try and do the same again. Romeo Coolio to finish the top 4 of the Brown Advisory. look, and it's even money again from 2 to 5, so it's a really nice price for punters, giving great value to punters, and hopefully can go and do well again today. But the big mover is Final Demand.
Right.
Final Demand, look, he was even money at one point after he won the first race over fences. He then ran at Limerick, and it wasn't.
It worked like a Limerick, and then last time.
And then last time, I think it was what, 2 to 5, 2 to 6, 2 to 7. Sorry, he went off and obviously disappointed the DRF. But the punters saw him at 6 to 1 this morning. He's not that price anymore. He's 4 to 1 now, and I think he could even go shorter at 7 to 2. Obviously, Paul Townend chose him today, so that he's a really interesting one. In the
BetMGM,
BetMGM, I can never get the name right now. It's changed. Jinko Blues, the big mover for Nicky Henderson. Obviously, he had 2 winners yesterday. Really good day for the British. Actually, you probably want to stop the count now, don't you? With the Presby Cup in mind. But 10 to 1 into 13 to 2, Jinko Blue. Actually, looking through the stats for this race, and Nicky Henderson has won the most renewals of a trainer. He's won 4. So, look, with 6 places on offer, punters think he can go close to making it 5 today. So Jinko Blue's one to watch there. The cross country, whether you love it or you hate it, like I love it. I think it's a brilliant race, and I think he's got some class at the top of the market here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Obviously, Gordon Elliott's horses are normally the ones to follow in this, and with extra places on offer, Pied Piper is the big mover today. 25 to 1 into 14 to 1. He's a favourite to many, isn't he? Look, he's trying this trip and around this course.
It's a race that Silver Birch and Tiger all won before going on to win a Grand National. But the Grand National weights were revealed a couple of weeks ago. Gordon Elliott was like saying Pied Piper was his Grand National horse, which I was like, ready, but money's come for today, so if he does go and win today, we heard Kate in the press room saying part of our online team was giving him a big shout. So
well, there you go.
The double.
Yeah, exactly, and obviously punters have latched onto that. 4 places on offer in the cross country, and he's 25 to 1 into 14s. The big one, the Queen Mother Champion Chase. Will he win?
Can I ask, is Majbor as big a liability as most people would believe necessarily?
Do you know what? I think talking to our traders, because of the anti-post position we've had throughout the season, it's not one of those races that's going to really hurt us too much.
Not going to make or break your week?
No, not really with Majbor. Like, you look tomorrow on Thursday with the shorty treble, and you look Wood 2, Bambino Fever, Factor File. You'd be wanting to get one of those beat for a really good festival, I would say. But I think Majbor today, look, he's a short price favourite. If the way the days goes, with a few favourite wins, you could obviously see it getting back and going up a shorter price, and then it might become a little bit more difficult. But at the moment, Anthony, no, it's one of them where, from the anti-post positions we're actually in an okay situation at the moment with Majbor. The one getting back though is Ilate Tomps,
right?
Which is really interesting.
Just going to prove this track, but
yeah, I thought it was a different horse. I just thought it was really interesting that obviously punters in a race like this, you want to take on an odds-on favourite, and they want to take it on with the other Willie Mullins runner. He obviously hasn't acted here, but he's been a class act this season, hasn't he? Sandown. If he wouldn't have fell at Ascot, he probably would be a shorter price. Well, he was 5 to 1, now 100 to 30. So the each way thieving on, have basically gone on that. So he'll be an interesting runner to see if he can actually run well here. The Grand Annual, it's always a difficult one, isn't it? Jazzy Matty has come for some money, obviously a 2-time winner. Yeah, 2-time winner at the festival. He's had that wind up as well, haven't he? So after running a few bad races, obviously that could be the key to him. I think he's £8 higher than winning the race last year. The other one for Betfair ambassador Paul Nicholls. Paul Nicholls had a brilliant day yesterday. Actually, Quebecois was just short in the Ultima. Paul Papa ran really well in the Fred Winter, finishing 4th at a big price. Obviously, he's got no drama this end in the turners, and we'd love for the Betfair ambassador to go really well in that. But Rubo, it was 20 to 1 now into 16 to 1 for this race. And look, he's going back over fences. He's obviously a really class hurdler. And off a marker 148. Look, where's the ceiling? Went with him over fences. So really interesting. Another extra place race for us there with 5 on offer, and you almost need it, don't you, in a race like the Grand Annual?
Then round off in the bumper.
Yeah, round off in the bumper, yeah. And the money's come for the DRF winner, Broadway Ted.
Right.
Yeah, 20 to 1 into 11 to 1 now. Obviously, Gordon Elliott has got a fair amount of runners in the race, and it's one of them, which one's the best one? I don't think probably he knows until he runs.
Charismatic Kid was shorter price on the day. He finished 3rd. So.
And he's 20 to 1, and Broadway Ted's the one's coming into 11 to 1 now. We're 4 places on that. And look, it's always a difficult one. You've obviously got the Irish Avatar, you've got Keeping Company that's obviously been talked about well, and then the one at the top of the market in the Rich Ritchie colours, Love Signs and I. You just don't know how good these horses are, but look, it's set to be a cracking day. We've got a brilliant offer that's running every day at the Cheltenham Festival. You get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 worth of horse racing multis. Obviously T's and C's apply. You have to opt in, and it's only on the Betfair Sportsbook. But that was yesterday, it's today, it's Thursday and it's Friday, so go on the Betfair Sportsbook to have a look at that.
Good stuff. I think we're covered, haven't we?
I think so.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sit down. Let's sit down. Yeah, best of luck or worst of luck, whatever you want it. Personally, give a good day yesterday?
Yeah, Madara was great for me. Yeah, he was one of my anti-post fancies, and I really like that.
Win.
I know. I don't think they thought he would win like that. I think it's a really difficult day for punters today. Like I said, take advantage of the extra places when you're getting in these big handicaps, because it really does look difficult. But look, good luck to everyone, and as always, obviously gamble responsibly. It's a long week, isn't it? We still have 3 big days of racing, so maybe just mind your powder, and if you don't have to have a bet in every race.
We're not even close to getting to the hill.
Oh, exactly. No, we're not. Like I said, it's a really long week. You want everyone to enjoy it and have fun and do it responsibly.
Good stuff. OK, that's James Mackey from Betfair.
It's a long week, but it's a brilliant week, isn't it? And we are now ready to preview the opening contest of the day, the Turner's Novices Hurdle, coming up at 1:20. And as ever on Mark Your Card, before we look forward, let's look back. And this is the Roll of Honour, the new lion last year for the Skelton team. And then Willie Mullins, 3 years in a row with Ballyburn in Par A Pass, Sir Gerard. And then you've got Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore with Bob Ollinger. Back in 2021, amazing, we'll see Bob Ollinger at the festival again. And indeed, Envoy Alan, absolute legends of the sport, have won this. And looking to this year's renewal, well, certainly no drama this end. Very well fancied for the Paul Nicholls team. As we've heard there from James Mackey, couple of springers in here, and we're 5-2 the field, with Sober at 6-1, Active Innocence at 15-2, King Rasco Grey also 15-2, and Sir Tudo at 9-1, Ballyfad at 10-1 chance, and Skylight Hustle priced the same, 11-1, and bigger the rest. But what about the favourite? The leading British hope in the Turners for Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden, this 6-year-old by Walk in the Park. Well, he's just had a wonderful season, a brilliant Grade 1 success in the Shallow at Newbury. That was back in December, and I think it's fair to say he's going from strength to strength, and a big player for Paul Nicholls.
No drama this end, produced by Harry Cobden, horse with a big reputation, and it looks really deserved here at Cheltenham today. No drama this end.
I feel like even now, with the amount of winners that you've had, you say nearly 4,000 winners, when a young horse comes along like No Drama This End, it still lights that fire in you, and you're like, this could be anything.
Exactly, of course it does, and that's what you want, horses to compete at that top level, and they're very special horses, and you know, we had a great record over the years with all those good horses, and yeah, to be able to get, you know, won 4 Gold Cups, I'd like nothing more than to win a 5th one, so we can get the right horse one day, we'll give it a good go.
Well, at the start of this season, we saw No Drama This End pitched in at quite a high level at Cheltenham in a Grade 2, on hurdling debut, good bumper form, ran in the champion bumper, and then he did what he did, which was something else. Afterwards, you came out and said, you mentioned, you uttered the word Denman, and people jumped on you and said, whoa, 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 too much too soon. Are you a little bit happy with what he's done since?
Well, of course I am. Look, I mean, he's won 2 Grade 2s and a Grade 1 and 3 runs over hurdles. Denman didn't do that. He won 2 a maiden hurdle and something at Wincanton. Won a Challow, and then got beat at Cheltenham. But I actually said, I think, if ever I've got a horse that might be a Denman, it could be him. And didn't say he was, might and could. And I still think he could be. I mean, he's got a lot of natural ability, a lot of size and scope. He needs to be lucky, he needs to stay sound like Denman did, and just keep progressing. He wants plenty of work. 2 totally different horses. He's a bit like Denman in that, and I'm not comparing him as like everyone gets carried away, as he's a tank of a thing. He'd take so much work. When Corto was he was a bit like him, didn't need a load of work, he was fit. Denman was fat as a pig all the time, needed loads, and he's the same. If you weren't careful, you look at him every day and still think he looks fat, so he wants plenty, but you know, we got 3 weeks left just to fine-tune him, which is perfect.
What did you expect at Cheltenham that first day?
I thought he'd run well, but I mean, I didn't necessarily expect him to win like that, because he doesn't show you a lot at home. Denman was just like that, showed you nothing at home, and before we ran Denman, first time at Wincanton, we didn't have a clue what we had. And to be honest with you, No Drama Same doesn't show a lot at home, just workmanlike, but on the track they've got it. And when you saw that first run, you think, oh, he's improved on last year physically, he's obviously got plenty of ability, and then he just kept progressing.
How much has he progressed? What did you learn from each of those runs? So he went to Cheltenham, he went to Sandown, then he's last seen winning the Shallow at Newbury in Grade 1 company. What were you most satisfied with each run?
We just kept his jumping ability. He did it different ways. The last time at Newbury, he had to go on fast ground and make the running, which didn't suit him really. But just, I mean, and I ran him 3 times fairly quickly. I wasn't going to go for the Challow to Sandown between Cheltenham and the Challow, and then I thought, oh no, he's fitting well, let's go. If we have 3 runs at Christmas, we give him a little break and come back now. But I just love the way he jumps and travels, arrives there on the bridle. I think he's had 1 slap down the shoulder in all his races, and that was at Newbury, and he just took off. I think there's lots to come yet, you know.
How much more is there to come?
Who knows? I mean, horses progress from year to year, don't they? And so I think with another summer on him and probably stepping up to 3 miles, jumping fences, you'll see more improvement.
He's the current favourite for the Turners at the Cheltenham Festival. You have won the Challow Hurdle with 3 horses that went on to the Turners in recent years and got beat. Brave Man's Game, Stage Star, Hermes Allen. Why is No Drama This End different?
Well, if you go back to like Brave Man's Game, he wasn't such a bad thing he got beaten, because he ended up winning King George's, didn't he? I don't know. He's got class. Yeah, he is definitely. He's definitely got class. Hermes Allen was a horse who I think overperformed, to be honest with you, but he won the Challow very well. Didn't perform quite well at Cheltenham. Brave Man's Game wasn't ever his favourite track necessarily at Cheltenham. He was always better on a flat track like Kempton. But No Drama seems to, obviously, he acted at Cheltenham and Sandown. It seemed to quite suit him, and I just think, I mean, Denman, as you said, got beat in the, but I think if Ruby looked back and I look back at the race, we may have ridden him differently. But what chases they made afterwards, it's not all about the Turners, winning the Turners, it's all about the future. All those horses that ran in those races you just mentioned were all fantastically top-class chasers and won top-class races, and win, lose or draw at Cheltenham, we will be a top-class chaser, I've got no doubt about that.
And that's what you're thinking about.
That's
you're
our
thinking
main
of
aim. That's our main aim.
Open Grade 1 chases 2 years down the line, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we'd like to think, yeah. And I mean, I know that, yeah, that's what we do this for. You know, and have runners in, you know, you would like, I mean, Paul Barber always used to say to me, you want to buy a horse who can carry 12 stone and get 3 miles and be a Gold Cup horse. Well, if you see No Dramas, he's a typical Paul Barber horse.
I have heard you say, though, recently that the one race that you would quite like to win at the festival this year is the Turners, because you've not won it before. Yeah. So going to that race, do you see anything in Ireland? Because Willie Mullins often chucks a horse out that looks really smart and normally wins the race as well. Have you seen anything that you go, oh, I'm not sure about that?
There's plenty of nice horses, obviously, of course there are. But I'd like to think they're thinking we're the one to beat. Yeah. But, you know, there are some nice horses. I think Active Innocence is a very smart horse, so, you know, he could run really well. And yeah, no one seems to know which ones of the Irish horses are going to run, but there are smart. It's a Grade 1 novice hurdle for the best novice. There's going to be some good opposition. Obviously, it's not going to be no cakewalk.
Huge day for trainer Paul Nicholls with his thoughts there ahead of No Drama This End's engagement in the Turners Novice Hurdle. We're going to take a closer look at the curtain raiser on today's Day 2 card now with Jane and Martin. And Martin, No Drama This End, it's very hard to pick holes in him based on what he's done over hurdles so far. Is there anything you've seen, any weakness there that others might be able to exploit as we have a look back at his win at Sandown?
No, I've got nothing against the horse at all. I just think he's a bit short in the market to be backing him in what I think is a very competitive race, but everything he's done has suggested he's a very good horse. So if you want to be with him, I don't think the horse will let you down. I think he'll run very well, but you are being asked to take quite a skinny price now about what is a really competitive race, and certainly a better race than what he's won previously. But right the way through the season, he has looked the real deal, in fairness. I think 5 of the 7 winners yesterday were previous Cheltenham winners. He ticks that box because of his hurdling debut win back in the autumn. He's kept on improving. He's never really come off the bridle for his wins. I can't knock him, Gary, so it's just a question of whether you're happy taking that price. I'd have sat here and said the same thing about Old Park Star probably yesterday, just whether you're willing to take the odds. There's nothing wrong with the horse. There's not really a lot wrong with what he's done through the season. He went and did the business. No Drama This End might well do, but as I say, he's just quite skinny, isn't he? So I'd prefer from a punting perspective to look elsewhere, but I have been impressed by him.
Let's have a look at some Grade 1 form in Ireland then. We'll go to the Dublin Racing Festival and show you the Grade 1 event in which Ballyfad finished second to talk the talk, and King Rasco Gray, of course, very close up in third on this occasion, as we highlight him there in the Gallopin des Champs colours. Jack Kennedy's gone for Ballyfad ahead of Scarlett Hustle, who we'll have a look at in just a second, Jane. Has he made the right decision, and who comes out on top in this rematch?
Well, it would have been a tough decision. We have to reference this piece of form with how Talk the Talk left it down yesterday. I don't know if he really turned up in the Supreme, but for whatever reason, the horse that eventually wins the race in Your Shot He's been blowout on day one of the Cheltenham Festival. It's been well documented that Willie Mullins felt the horse in the Audrey Turley colours, the Gallop and Champ colours, King Rasco Grey, he would improve a lot for this run. So he expects him to improve past Ballyfad. I think Ballyfad is a lethargic horse. I think he's a horse you'll underestimate. Maybe halfway through the race that he'll come off the bridle, but he keeps finding. I just don't know if he has the class to win a Grade 1 hurdle on this ground. I think maybe he's a chaser for next year, typical Eddie O'Leary type purchase, and I think he's vulnerable. It would have been a difficult decision for Jack. I can understand why he went with Ballyfad, but given the ground conditions the way they are now, we'll have a look at Skylight Hustle, and I think he might just have a bit more pace.
Ballyfad will definitely appreciate going a bit further today, but you could easily say the same about this horse, Jane, who, well, Jack Kennedy felt he wasn't done with when Talk the Talk comes down here at the final flight. I think most observers felt Talk the Talk was on his way to victory, but how taken have you been by what this fella's been doing over hurdles?
Well, he was good in his maid at Fairyhouse, and obviously he was fortuitous here. Jack said he might have won. You wouldn't really, Jack, would you, to be honest? Especially given what Talk the Talk did next time. But he beats Carrickmorna Spruce well. She's a useful mare of Declan Quealy's, who we'll see tomorrow. This guy's by Jukebox Jury. I think he's got a bit of pace in his pedigree, and I could see him running a big race at bigger prices. But just referencing what Martin has already said, No Drama this end has every right to be 5-2. He's been pretty flawless. And I would now be a little bit worried about the Irish novice form, and it might just be a case that one of the less exposed types might put it up to them.
I wonder, would Sober perhaps fit that bill? He is part of another very strong Willie Mullins contingent here in our opener on day 2. Very smart flat horse, Group 2 winner on the level. This is his win at Punchestown last time in the Moscow Flyer Novice Hurdle. He was actually the outsider of the big 2 this day against Road Exile, the Jigginstown horse in front there, but he beats him very, very comfortably, ultimately, Martin. I guess, would inexperience be a concern? Jumping has been a bit sticky at times in his 2 starts over hurdles so far. For all we know, he's very classy.
Yeah, I think if he puts in a good round of jumping, he could definitely win. May well win, to be honest, because he's got a load of speed and he's got a very high level of ability. He was a dual Group 2 winner during his time in France on the flat. He won at Royal Ascot last season. He's unbeaten while he's being trained by Willie Mullins in 3 starts, 2 over hurdles, and the Royal Ascot performance last season. So he's got loads of speed, he's got loads of ability. In a big field, his jumping could be the undoing of him, couldn't it? And that's the risk that you've got to take. His price has shortened up. I can definitely see why, because I think he's got the ability to be a big player in it. But at the price that he is, I wouldn't be willing to take the risk, because I think ultimately my gut feeling is his jumping won't come up to standard.
Free Spirit, who's in the field again today, was 3rd in that Punchestown race. But Martin, it's another of Willie Mullins' team that you want to make a case for here. Take it away with Sortudo.
Yeah, I really like this horse. I think he's got loads of ability. Finished ahead of No Drama this end in the champion bumper last season, was a couple of places ahead of him. The run after that, when Sortudo kicked I'll Sort That out of the way in a bumper at Fairyhouse, I think that's the run that shows you the engine and the capabilities that he's got. And for me, he's made a bright start over hurdles. He's only had 2 runs. He was beaten by I'll Sort That last time out, but it was testing ground. They omitted 2 flights of hurdles. That was massively in the favour of I'll Sort That. And Sortudo did really well coming out of the pack, beating the rest of the horses that hadn't made the running by a long way. And I just think the nature of the race, fitness was on I'll Sort That side as well, because he'd had 3 runs behind him before that race. And I still thought Sortudo came out of that run with a huge amount of credit. He's got loads of speed. He travels well. I think the ground conditions will be perfect for him. Not worried about him in a big field. He's already come up the hill in last year's champion bumper quite strongly. I think he's a big player, so Sortudo definitely a bet for me in the first.
Danny Mullins to be on the right one again, Jane. Can you see it?
Stranger things have happened. Absolutely, I can see it. For everything that Martin has said, Willie obviously has 6 in here. We want to mention a couple more. I think Free Spirit, that's a very long shot. Lauritz D'Estraval, it's hard to contextualise what he achieved, but he won very well in his maiden after coming from France. St. Bacco, I think, is up against it. One from the UK that we were referencing off air was Bossman Jack. He's a brother to Gidley Park from the family of Denman, and I just wonder now with the skeleton team already on the board. He won by 13 lengths at Chepstow. He's been a bit overlooked, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good horse. He won his bumper last season around Wincanton. and he looked the real deal that day. And then I think the only defeat that he's had so far came at Warwick in the early part of the season, and Baron Noir was in that race. He also got beaten in it, Baron Noir. He finished second to a 400 grand purchase from Harry Derham's yard. Crystal Destravel, I think he's called.
He's out for the season.
Yeah, he's out for the season, but he could be a proper horse. So that Warwick form is actually okay, and it was Bossman Jack's hurdling debut. So he's improving all the time, I think, as a hurdler.
He's around 14 to 1.
Yeah, he's about 14 to 1. Him and Taurus Bay are the two sort of British outsiders that I could see having a chance.
Tremendous racing prospect then for our opener here on day 2 of the Turnus Novice Hurdle. And as we go back to Rachel and Josh, Rachel, we do so with the news that we've just heard in the last few minutes. Predators Gold, unfortunately, now confirmed as a non-runner in the Brown Advisory. So we're down to 14 runners in that one.
Thank you for that, Gary. And indeed, Josh, he's back, and we're going to take a look at the opening contest. And first of all, hearing from the team on the course, you know, so many in with chances. Obviously, No Drama this end is the favourite, but how do you see the race being run?
Well, yeah, when you're looking at a race like this, it is very valuable to know how these races tend to be run at the festival. These are the last 3 renewals, the New Lion winning last year. And look at the finishing speed percentages, a 105 or more. You can see the goings there as well. They do play a role in how some of the races are run. But it tends to tell you, Rachel, that speed does come into it. It's not purely all about the stamina over this intermediate trip. Notice, though, also the number of runners. Now, on this occasion, we're up to 21. That's the highest, or the largest field in this since 2002. So you do have to take that with a little bit of caution. It could be run potentially a bit stronger, but nonetheless, there is still an emphasis on a bit of speed needed in the Turnus.
Speed, and sometimes you talk about the big field, a little bit of luck on occasions as well. And what about No Drama this end for Paul Nicholls? I mean, he's been such a progressive horse, hasn't he? And really versatile.
Absolutely, yeah. No Drama this end has been brilliant. If we look at the runs through the season, starting with Cheltenham, you say progressive. The jumping has got better throughout the season. Started with an 8.1 jump index here at Cheltenham, onto an 8.4 at Sandown, and then a 9.1 at Newbury. So a very slick jumper indeed. We'll touch on that in a minute. Look at the speed, though. We were just referencing that speed may come into it, reaching more than 36 miles per hour when winning the Shallow last time. But it's just how impressive this horse has been in some of those runs. Hard held both there at Cheltenham and at Sandown, where we turn our attention to now, and even at Newbury in the Shallow looked very, very comfortable indeed. That turn of foot, okay, at Newbury it was a slowly run race, the finishing speed percentage around 112, and it was on good ground, which we're likely to get here, but it does demonstrate that this horse has plenty of speed. I said I'd come back to the jumping. Well, No Drama this end's jumping is very much that of a Grade 1 calibre horse. If you look at the speed that No Drama this end loses over his obstacles, it's 2 miles an hour or less. In fact, on average, 2.2 less than miles per hour lost at all of his hurdles so far, and that's taking into account the odd novice one. He is a novice, don't forget. But that level of jumping, that slickness over hurdles is, you know, up there with the likes of Lossiemouth that we saw yesterday.
Doesn't he travel so well? I mean, looking at those performances, really impressive. And the ground, obviously, good last time, previously soft for the 3 wins. So when I say he's versatile, he seems to go on everything. And he seems to travel really well on it, whatever the conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose when you're looking at the race now, and the guys on course were alluding to it, the reaction from the Supreme yesterday, the price has contracted, potentially an overreaction to the strength of the Irish novice form. Time will tell whether that's the case. I suppose less attractive at 5-2 when you could get probably about 5-1 this time yesterday on the horse. So I can understand why people are thinking the horse is now making the market for an each-way play somewhere else, but the data certainly suggests that No Drama this end is a very good horse.
Right, are we going with No Drama this end today? Come on, Josh.
I think No Drama This End should win as long as it gets the luck.
It's not big enough in price for you, probably, is it?
No, probably not now. No.
I think a lot of people are thinking that, and actually Martin Dixon said, I can't see anything wrong with the horse, but maybe just a little bit on the short side. What about the times yesterday? How did you see them?
The times very much read that the going yesterday at Cheltenham was good ground. They did, I think, have a sprinkle overnight, so it'll be interesting to see what the assessment is by the clerk, but very much the time suggesting yesterday we had good ground.
OK, lovely, very good, thank you. And, well, was it more than a sprinkle? Let's find out more with Niall Hannity. He's out and about with John Pullen.
He's just finished walking the track, John Pullen. Time to get an update once again. It's a bright, breezy 1.5 mile overnight.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we were forecast sort of 2 to 3. We got just the 1.5 mile. So it's just tightened up a fraction on yesterday. Not very much. So we're good to soft, good in places today. Going stick reading today, we're 5.7 and we were 5.5 yesterday. Right. So pretty similar to yesterday.
Yeah, it's probably still plenty of moisture in it. It's just going to be a bit dead and top after racing on it.
Exactly that. Yes. You know, we've had the very wet start to the winter. Yeah, there's plenty of moisture underneath. It's just the top that's starting to dry, and so yeah, it might just be a little bit dead on top.
Any real movements?
We've done what we can. So we've pushed a few of the hurdle and chase rails out a yard or two on some of the bends. Down the back straight, the first 2 hurdles there, we've moved a panel from the inner, so they're out a little bit wider there. And then we've just realigned the chase bend this morning, just to give them a better approach to the second last.
Right, big fields, first 2 races in particular. Well, and Grand and Bumper.
big fields all day, which we're delighted with. Obviously, you know, really pleased with both numbers and quality. Fantastic day's racing yesterday, really good, really strong day, really exciting. Great atmosphere here, and looking for much the same today.
I was just speaking to Ruby Waltz. He was saying, like, he felt since COVID it was the best crowd-wise, walking around, it just felt a nice atmosphere, a nice vibe.
It really did. You know, several people commented through the day and even before racing that you know, they just felt a different buzz around the place yesterday, and thankfully the racing delivered, and that continued throughout the afternoon.
There's a bit of heat in that sun forecast this afternoon?
Yeah, forecast temperature-wise was only sort of 11-12 degrees. If this stays out, it might creep a little bit above that, and there is that little bit of a breeze. We're forecast to be dry and dry overnight into tomorrow, but then the band of rain comes in from lunchtime, really. Shouldn't see too much volume-wise through the afternoon, but then after racing, there's a more significant band before racing on Friday.
What are you talking, 10 mil sort of yesterday you were thinking that?
Yeah, the top end still could suggest that, although some of the forecasts have revised a little bit lower than that. But I think somewhere in total between 5 and 10 from sort of tomorrow afternoon to before racing.
If we're racing on the new track today, what would you call it now?
Yeah, I'd still have it as good to soft. They're very similar, and you know, we'll just have to see how much it does dry through the day today.
You'll welcome that rain tomorrow before race, will you?
Yeah, certainly would. I think just to keep the new course where we'd want it. If we feel it's drying a little bit too much through the day today, and there are, you know, a couple of areas, then we might need to do something tonight. But we'll see how the day goes and assess that later on.
Yeah, good stuff. Once again, thanks very much for the updates.
Thanks very much, Niall.
Mark your card. Proudly sponsored by Timethorn.
The all-new RacingTV.com, your home of live British and Irish racing. Take your racing viewing to the next level across mobile, tablet and desktop. With Racing TV Extra quad and pop-out screen options, you will never need to miss a minute of action again from any of our 61 racecourses. What's more, our expert tipsters are now providing daily video tips, and you can watch key video form clues all in one place. Plus, with our new improved race cards, fast results and HD replays, you'll have everything you need to find your next winner at your fingertips. It's also never been easier to apply for our club days, so apply for a free day's racing for you and a friend now, and we'll see you at a racecourse soon. What are you waiting for? Head to racingtv.com or scan the QR code now to see for yourself.
This Cheltenham, you can play different with Betfair.
Get a free £10 bet when you bet £10 on racing multiples every day at Cheltenham. Betfair. Mark your card. Proudly sponsored by Timethorpe.
Welcome back to Mark Your Card. Day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival on the horizon. It's really good to have your company as we build up to Ladies' Day. But yesterday, if it's anything to go by, we are in for a real treat.
All the main players are back on their favourite stage. So are you, and so are we.
Here they come. And they're off. And it's Old Park Star who's coming home best of all to win the Supreme. To Willie Mullins, to Ken Alexander. Kojak has won the Arkle. Saratoga by a couple of lengths under Mark Walsh, and heading for the finish, it's Saratoga to win the Fred Winter. Search for Glory makes a terrible mistake, and as they hit the line, it's going to be Johnny Who to win the Ultima. Striding towards a 4th festival win, her best win, and Lossiemouth is the champion hurdler. But Nadara making no mistake here and runs away with the Sun Racing plate. And Holloway Queen is going to take the Natural Hunt Challenge Cup, another winner of the day for Nicky Henderson. James Bowen on board the mare.
Wow, what a day of racing and a brilliant start to the festival for Paul Townend and Mark Walsh. Paul Townend, of course, on Lossiemouth. What an amazing performance that was. And, of course, Mark Walsh on Saratoga. The Grey, a real fairy tale success for Padraig Roach in the JP McManus colours on his 75th birthday. So, leading riders, no surprise, those two head the way with Harry Skelton, Nico de Bondeville, Danny Mullins and Richie McLaren alongside James Bowen. James Bowen, his first ever festival winner. Massive congrats to him and Richie McLaren. It was a very long time waiting for another. So yeah, they were all the stories from day 1. And the leading trainers after the opening day, well, Willie Mullins, he's had 2 winners, Nicky Henderson on 2, and then Dan Skelton, Padraig Roach, John Joe O'Neill among the winners as well. So not the biggest surprise. And the Brits basking in glory after day 1 for the Pressbury Cup. Great Britain 4, Ireland 3, and we look forward to seeing how that pans out a little bit later in the show. We're going to take you to Friday now with the decks in, and news first, the Gold Cup, Gaelic Warrior, of course, in those colours, the Rich Ritchie silks, and we know how special it was for Rich Ritchie to win the champion hurdle yesterday, but oh, how he would love a Gold Cup. And of course, we have got news through that Gaelic Warrior will be in the lineup. We've got 11 declared, so many horses coming back for another crack at Festival Glory, the likes of Envoy Alan and Gaelic Warrior, of course, L'Empresse in the lineup with Charlie Deutsch on board. You've got Paul Townend on Gaelic Warrior, and last year's winner, I know the way you're thinking, we've not got a jockey on board there yet, but I'll tell you what he will have. He'll have cheek pieces for the Gold Cup on Friday. He's not really lifted a leg all season, so hopefully that will spark the enthusiasm we've all been waiting for. And news in the JCB Triumph Hurdle Grade 1, of course, on Friday to kick off the day. And 20 declared. You've got your jockeys on board as well. Darragh O'Keefe will be on Berta Ramirez, Nico on Fantasy World, Keelan Woods on Indian River, Ben Jones on Lord Byron, and Maestro Conti, Harry Skelton. There's a lot of runners in there for Willie Mullins with jockeys. We're still waiting on the news and who will ride who. Manila Study will be Ryan Mania, One Horse Town with Paul O'Brien, North Shore Keith Donoghue, Mark Walsh on Proactive, Robbie Dunn will be on Wolf Rhea, Jack Kennedy, Highland Crystal, and Gavin Sheehan on Tenta Le Two. And news on the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle as well. 22 runners declared, and news of the jockeys coming through as well, filtering through quite slowly, as you'll see, with Dr. Steinberg, of course, is favourite for Mullins, likely to be Paul Townend, but we'll have news in, well, hopefully soon. And Ben Jones on Mondui Boy, Harry Skelton on Money Garrow, Jack Kennedy on Spinning Gayran, and David Bass, Swindon Village. Tackle Tommy Woohoo has been jocked up as well, as has Park Princess with Sam Twiston Davis. So that's news for Friday. For us next, the Grand Annual preview on the way. Time to look back on the last 10 winners, and Jazzy Matty, oh my gosh, what a horse he has been at the Cheltenham Festival. 2 from 2. Danny Gilligan will be on board for Cian Collins. Real amazing story last year, and unexpected party 2 years ago for Harry and Dan Skelton. Mascada for Darragh O'Keefe and Henry de Bromhead. Global Citizen sadly took it in 2022 for Ben Pauling and Keelan Woods. Sky Pirate for Nick Schofield and John Joe Neal. And it's been a good mix, actually, if you look at the Irish trainers and the British trainers all getting in on the act for the Debenhams Johnny Henderson Grand Annual Challenge Cup Handicap Chase. And the 440 is when we'll be enjoying this one, the penultimate race on the card. Be Aware is the favourite at 4-1, Jazzy Matty at 5-1, and then we're bringing in Vanderpool 15-2, In the Pocket 17-2, Release the Beast at 9s, and Relieved of Duties 10-1, 11-1, and Bigger the Rest. So the favourite, Be Aware, and after what we saw yesterday from the Skelton team, this horse must have a very big chance indeed. Improved form and winning on chase debut at Stratford, and certainly one that is going from strength to strength this season. So with that in mind, let's head out to the team.
Thank you, Rachel. And the lady on my right is waiting with bated breath to see what happens with those jockey bookings for the Gold Cup. How is Spillane Tower, Jane, by the way?
He's departing this afternoon to arrive here tonight. Look, we just met Mark Walsh coming in there, so I did ask him, and Mark Walsh is going to ride, I know the way you're thinking. It was always going to be hard for him to get off a reigning Gold Cup champion and the first time cheek pieces, and obviously better ground will hopefully bring him back to life. And with Jack Kennedy now booked on Firefox, I would presume, this is not official, but I would presume Harry Cobden will be riding Spillane's Tower. It's not a bad substitution to get, but at the same time, we don't have confirmation yet.
OK, we'll watch this space, but Spillane's Tower making his way across the Irish Sea ahead of his big engagement here on Friday. Look forward to seeing him run in the feature. But let's concentrate, as Rachel has set it up nicely for us there, on the Grand Annual Chase. Could it be another big winner for the Skeltons here in handicap company? Be Aware, who knows his way around here at Cheltenham pretty well, has been taking on some pretty smart rivals, I think it's fair to say, Martin, in novice company since winning a handicap earlier on in the campaign. He was no match for Lulamba here in the Henry VIII novice chase on Tingle Creek Day. But has he been found a good opportunity here to put himself firmly into the mix again?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. Favourite handicap of the week coming up, fast and furious over 2 miles. And you know how Be Aware's going to be ridden as well. He'll be ridden aggressively from the front. Jumping's been an asset. That type of horse has done well in this race over the years. Forward-going horses that put pace to the race and jump well. And I think we've seen that ability from him over the course of the season. It worries me slightly that he's burnt a few fingers at previous festivals and previous handicaps when he's been well fancied. He's got the right tools, but I do think he's too short, Gary, in what is a wide open race.
Let's go back to the 2025 edition. As Rachel was saying there, it was a fairy tale win for Jazzy Matty, and he's back for more, and so are some of those horses that finished behind him on this occasion. We've got Jasco de Dam and Martator in the mix as well, Jane. How's it going to shake down this time around, do you reckon?
Well, don't take Jazzy Matty's recent form too literally. He's been hurdling. I think they've been trying to sweeten him up, but this was an £8 lower mark. He was competitive off last year. He'll appreciate drying ground, and they've done his wind, which may well be pivotal as well. I saw him out in the gallops yesterday morning. They're very sweet on his chances. Jasco de Dam, he's disappointed me on a few occasions. I think he's going to have to put up a career best to get in the frame. And Matador, now first time blinkers are being reached, yard form, questioning that, and I would have to say it'd be a difficult stretch for me to see him getting involved. I can see Jazzy Matty running a good race. I think the handicapper still has him. I don't think he's terribly given him much of a chance. It's hard to believe, still only a 7-year-old, of course, former Fred Winter winner, beating an unexpected party quite well there. I think he can be a player, but I don't think he's particularly well treated.
Martin, I want to come to you about Vanderpoel for Ben Pauling here, lightly raced 7-year-old who's chasing a hat-trick of wins. We haven't seen him since this victory at Sandown on January the 3rd, which may well be by design, I'm not altogether sure. Is he on the short list?
I think he's got to be to some extent, yeah. He's a really progressive horse, good strike rate, 7 runs over jumps so far, 4 wins, only out of the first 3 on one occasion in those starts. So he's unexposed, he's improving, he's taken really well to chasing. The slight concern is that this is going to be a completely different type of race than what he's proven in. Small field at Ascot when he was successful back in December, small field here at Sandown when he was successful as well. So he's got to prove himself in a completely different type of race. So he's got the handicapping scope, but he doesn't have the experience of the likes of a Jazzy Matty.
Let's have a look at some more Irish form then, and we're going to show you Adrigul winning at Leopardstown at the Christmas Festival. Beat Release the Beast, who he opposes here on this occasion. Release the Beast might have been a shade unlucky. Jane ran into some traffic problems. We've seen Adrigul running again in the interim. He's run creditably at the DRF. Can either of these two make their presence felt, would you say?
They can, yeah. Look, obviously I'm a little bit more interested in the Jacob's Ladder, Golden Joy, Western Diego, Adrigul form, the form from February. But this was a good performance from Gavin Cromwell's horses. When the horses in his yard weren't completely in form, he was winning here off a mark of 132, so he's 13 pounds higher today. The second horse, Release the Beast, is probably interesting, but I worry about him getting a little bit lost in a tighter track. He's a specialist at Leopardstown. He loves Leopardstown, big galloping, wide open space. I just wonder about his credentials at tight turning track like this. If you look at the form from February, Adrigul, Western Diego in the pocket finished 5th. Ballysack's Hank is 6th. I think they're the two that might be more inclined to get involved.
I think we all feel that in the pocket could potentially have major say in things here. Do you feel, Martin, he's been building maybe towards this big day?
Yeah, I think so. The ability is there for sure, isn't it? And I think the course of the season, he's been getting more experience. At least he's stood a bit more racing this year. He certainly wasn't discredited last time out, but I think they've probably had their eye on the spring festivals right the way through. The mark has edged back down a little bit, and what he was capable of as a novice hurdler, he was Grade 1 standard pretty much as a novice hurdler. So I think we know that innate ability is there, and he could be a typical JP horse that's ready to thrive at the festival. There is one that I prefer at another Irish challenger, relieved of duties, of Gordon Elliott's, who they've given him a sighter of the track back in the autumn. He actually finished well ahead of Adrigul on that occasion. The form's pretty good. Al Nilam won it. They went a fast gallop on good ground, and he was never really in a position to be properly put in the race in comparison to the winner, but he did run very well. His couple of starts since then have been on deep ground. I don't think he's really been put in those races. They've got him the 4 qualifying runs that allows him to contest an open handicap at this meeting. And I just think coming back onto better ground and at a track where he's run his best race over fences makes him of interest off a mark of 136.
Relieved of duties, another one then. He's just had the 4 runs so far over fences to qualify for the Debenhams. Johnny Henderson, Grand Annual. We'll be back with you shortly, but for now we're going to rejoin Niall and Anthony.
Well, the gates have opened, and the people just said to Ruby they didn't walk in, they're running in. Where are they under?
I had no idea, but they ran faster than some of the horses I fancied yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't easy, but they'll be tired by 120, won't they?
They will. And today I think it's harder.
Yeah, it's no easier today, is it?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, you look at the size, it is great though. When you look at the size of the field in the Turners, 22, bigger field than we've had in the last couple of years in the Brown Advisory as well. BetMGM will always be as competitive. cross country, maybe there's an angle there. I think Majbor will win the champion chase, but best of luck to the Grand Annual. And what's going to happen in the bumper?
Yeah. What about Paul Townend? How big a choice did he have in the first race?
I'd say the fair choice. I think he had it down to King Racecard Grey and Sober. I know plenty of people would fancy Sortudo, but I thought Patrick rode Sortudo and Ace, and he's gone for Sober. So Sober's working really well. He just has to jump the first couple, and he's a lot of schooling done, so hopefully he will. But Fairish Horse obviously won the Queen Alexander at Royal Ascot. He'll handle the drier ground. And
can you warm into a race like this? Do you know if he's slow over the first and second?
Can if you're Isterbreck.
Yeah.
He went around last, didn't he? Charlie Swan many years ago, but difficult enough. That Nile is the same as any other race. If they go hard, of course you can warm into it. But if they go and slow down and you're at the back, you're caught in no man's land.
And you see the pace really held up all races?
Pretty much every race bar the Ultimate, I think, did it?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I'd say Connections are quite happy they chose Brown Advisory for Romeo Coolio after what happened yesterday. I think he probably would have, the wheels would have been spinning, wouldn't they?
Probably off the home turn with the way the race transpired. Danny was obviously tactically very good on Cargeese. He kept slowing it down, backed them up, and he banked on her getting the last two right, and Nulamba missed one, Kopek missed the other, and he ends up the winner. It was a great bit of riding, but now that would have stood to Romeo Coolio. He's a solid jumper as well, but I do think that 2 miles and 1 even had looked sharp from at Leopardstown. I think 1 mile and 7 here was always going to be too sharp. I think he's a big chance of the Brown Advisory.
Yeah, I think he'll stay.
So do I.
Yeah,
I think he's crying out for it.
Kopek, just go back to him. If he's a look on his side, gets it together, he's got some engine.
He has landed hind end, not first, but together at the back of the second fence, quite static, settle into a rhythm then, and look, he jumps the last. I think he would have won. I probably think Sober Glory would have won if he jumped the last as well, but there's no one knows better than me. If you don't jump the last, you don't win.
I wasn't going to bring Andy Power up today. I wasn't going to mention it at all.
You can keep going.
Lossiemouth, again, every year you go back, Cheltenham record, Cheltenham form, but what a mare. What a mare.
Brilliant mare. Look, I firmly believe she was better over 2.5, but I was surprised I went so slow.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I looked up at the screen and jumped the first hurdle. I'm thinking, these are hacking. Like, they let her get in a rhythm, get on her feet, and then she was brilliant from there on.
The favourite and the second favourite, well, Brighter Days Ahead up in front.
Yeah, and obviously with Tutti Quanti not jumping off, that kind of changed the